Cheese night. Hello.
Click. And we're live. It is Friday, October 1st, 2021, 5:01 p.m. I was only 20 years off. Don't mind me. Luke has the monologue today, except that he's not here. We have a special guest host today, which is to say Luke. And he will be here a little later. We're going to defer the monologue until he gets here. We are not allowed to have fun anymore, but it is cheese night.
Yeah.
Scott is shirking his cheese night duties because
He is like, to his credit, he did get up at like 7 o'clock in this morning and like that God forsaken hour because of Lisa making him schedule like their class at 8 a.m. on a Friday to teach.
Well,
so.
you know, it happens when you teach with former FBI officials. They're used to having 7 a.m. meetings, and they do the early rising thing. Oh, wait, is Luke here?
No.
No, he's gone.
Luke is with his dad right now, protesting a little bit.
Luke.
He had so many things
to.
Yes, exactly. He had so many things to catch up on the news because I've been a delinquent. So he was voicing all of his opinions at once.
Yeah, there's a lot to catch up on.
We have no agenda today, other than Luke catching up on the news. We are just gonna shoot the shit. Kate has an op-ed in the New York Times today, as does Luke. We've got an open mic for those who want to join us. So, just do your thing. And, of course, there's cheese.
Yeah. Things are good over here.
Oh.
I know.
That was great.
Father, the Gouda joke. I'm really just like, I'm a little off my game today. Or right on it, depending on your...
Yeah, depending on your dad joke tolerance.
Yeah, I know.
Paula has a perfectly deranged question on behalf of herself and Mateo. She writes, me and Mateo want to know, which should be Mateo and I want to know, Paula, if you would sell pics of your feet online for money. We got into a heated debate. So
where? When? Like what?
I think we need the story behind this.
I've actually thought about this before, so I have answers.
This is a definite thing.
Yeah, it totally is.
Yeah.
I thought about this.
It is? Do people... Wait, Paula...
Paula can explain it, but I can also explain it to set it up.
Paula is audible. Her camera's not on for some reason. What the heck is this question about?
So I don't know how we got to this topic, but we did. And so basically, I think he has said his argument is pro-choice on selling feet, that for a reasonable amount of money, and if there was sufficient distance from the person, that he would do it.
Okay, that's not pro-choice. That's just like a choice. He's like pro, and his choice.
I mean, no
pro.
one's proposing to ban.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Right?
He's not like anti having a choice or pro having a choice about the feet. He's like in favor. He would do this thing for the right dollar amount.
Is that like pro podiatria or philia, podiatrophilia or something?
So wait, just so that we're
it's
clear.
Not pedophilia.
Yeah,
I can promise you that.
Pedophilia.
If you would like, I don't know if he can come on, but
wait a minute, Paula. Just so that we're clear, I take it these are people who sell pictures of their feet for foot fetishists.
I'm guessing. He gave a great argument, which was that, I mean, even if you were working at a really great law firm and you like got a, summer associate, or an associate's like salary, you could probably make more selling feet online at much lower effort.
This was not where I thought the question was going. How much?
Oh, this is exactly where I thought the question was going. What the hell?
We're bringing Mateo on to add to this because
he called me crazy, by the way, because I said there was literally no amount of money that I would ever accept to sell my feet online. And he said,
I just want to say I have excellent feet, and I'm proud of my feet, and I would give them away. I have no need to earn. I earn a perfectly good living. Anybody who wants pictures of my feet.
No one wants pictures of your feet, then.
Apparently not. No one's beating down my door for them. But so the answer is, would I sell pictures of my feet? Yes, I would even give them away.
Okay, so that's great because I said that you would for sure. And I also said that Scott would.
But I don't need money for it. I mean, I don't not shy about my feet.
Ben, be quiet for 1 second. I have to tell you what this is about. This is like, it is 100% for people who derive some type of like kind of pleasure about having, like, not always, like, it's not always sexual, but like they will ask you to take pictures of your feet in various positions, like with certain colored nail polish and a certain type of shoe.
I'm not going to put nail polish on my feet.
But it's not about you. Just let me finish.
I'm just thinking about it from a personal angle here. The question, Paula asked the question, would you sell pictures of your feet?
Okay, but you thought that, like, but this is the question, I mean, like, if it was like, would you sell a picture of your elbow, and it was just a picture of your elbow and that's all it was, someone would do that. But the whole point is that it is what makes someone kind of not want to do this is that it has like this sexual connotation to it, and it feels kind of sleazy to like be art directed in your feet or like know that your feet are being used in like this way. So I just want to say that when I was in college, this was like a thing that people talked about to make money. And also that there were like these parties you could go to, and people would like, you would get paid like $1,000 an hour to like have people like, and they would have ads for this and like the Brown Daily Herald or whatever. And it would be like, you had to look a certain way. It wasn't just about your feet. That's because it was like a whole sexual thing. It was like you had to be like a certain level of attractiveness and also have nice feet.
But why would anyone care if you were of a certain level of attractiveness if the picture were only of your feet?
It's not a picture. This is what I'm talking about. Like, it's not just the picture.
Well, in this case, it's not a picture.
Yes, in this case, not a picture. But like people would go and like pay like $1,000 and let someone massage your feet, and like there wouldn't necessarily be any type of sexual contact or anything like that, but you would know that they were getting kind of some type of sexual gratification or something you didn't see as sexual. And that is like, I think, the interesting differential in like, would you do it or wouldn't you do it? Would you let someone do X to you that you don't find sexual, but they do? Like,
okay,
so like, does that make sense?
Let's talk about, first of all, how this issue arose.
Mateo?
Yeah, I agree. That's actually the exact part of the issue where Paula and I started to disagree. My point was that they could do that to you anyway, without your permission and without financial compensation. I'm walking around outside, and my likeness is available for anyone.
I know exactly where you are right now.
Between Morse and Stiles College.
Yeah, you're like at that weird spot. You're like at that weird bridge. Are you at the weird bridge?
Yeah, I'm on the bridge.
Oh, ha 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 ha. Anyway,
that's weird.
Yeah, but there is but that is the weird part, right? Like that, Ben, trust me that like if you found like, yes, they could do this to you anyways. People could take pictures of your feet surreptitiously. People do this all the time.
Or go over, hundreds of hours of videos of your face online.
Yeah.
Okay, but hang on a second. So just so that we understand, Mateo, your position is somebody wants a picture of my feet and they're willing to give me X amount of money.
It's only a question of how quick I can get my socks off.
Okay. And Paula, your position is never under any circumstances would you knowingly give somebody a picture of your feet for gratification purposes. But if they happen to take one surreptitiously and you don't know about it, it's fine if they have one for free.
I don't want disgusting of my feet.
But when you're at the beach when you're at the beach and you're walking around barefoot, you have no idea who's got a long-range camera and is snapping a picture of your feet,
I don't.
right?
But if I saw someone with a long-range camera, I would hide my feet.
Protect those pinky toes.
Okay, so Kate, you're with Paula on this. No one's taking pictures of your feet.
No, I'm like solidly indecisive. I was very like.
That's so fun. That's what we said for you.
What we said would happen.
We wrote predictions for how the four of you would react to this, and we're 2 for 2.
So you're 2 for 2. You got.
I almost did this in college, and then I was like, nope, I feel skeezed. But I would do it, but nope, I feel a little skeezed.
No, that's what we said. We said that Ben's going to be like, it's money, and we said that Kate's going to be
No, that wasn't my position. You got me
What's
wrong.
your position?
My position is you want a picture of my feet. I'll send you a goddamn picture of my feet. You don't need to pay me. There's nothing secret about my feet.
No one here
and we said that
is
Kate was
going to
be split between it's gross and like I've done harder work for less money.
All right, GDF, where are you on feet pictures? This is the best question we've ever had on this show.
What if I make it an NFT?
Oh man.
Oh, that's good.
I bet someone's done that though.
Yeah. I would. That aside, probably no. It's just
3 for 3. Okay, we went 3 for 3.
So here's the question: what did you predict for Scott?
We said Scott
would.
We said you and Scott would. Kate would be indecisive, and then GDF would say no.
So we got to text Scott and see what the answer is.
I don't think that this is don't text Scott.
Why not?
Because I think that you have to be in the moment, and he's not. We're not
I'll
going to be able to.
stop by his office on Monday, and I'll.
Stop by his office hours, Mateo, and report back after you explain this to him.
All right, this is clearly a poll. Would you give someone a picture of your feet?
Nina.
Yes,
Nina's
for money.
Staring at all right now.
Yes, with or
not stop laughing.
Without money.
Nina's not even profiting.
I know. She's just giving it away.
All right, it's up.
Paula, do you remember how this came up? Because I don't.
Yeah, I don't really want to know. Can we just not?
All right, you guys are adorable. I'm dismissing you both. When the next time you have a good argument about something like this, be sure to bring it up on the show.
Yeah, and please make sure that you write down these predictions. And I like this game of guessing what we say.
Yeah, and for all the rest of you, this is a model of the kind of question we want on Cheese Night.
No, this is absolutely only I feel I really like that this was Paula and Mateo's idiot college dorm room late night kind kind of question.
Hey, that's Paula's in law school. She is not an idiot college student anymore.
Oh my gosh, I know.
She's now an idiot 1L.
Yeah. But Genevieve, right? This is the type of thing you'd stay up until 3 o'clock in the morning debating with your dorm mates.
Heatedly, extremely heatedly, and you then at a certain point you watch the sun come up over your radiator because
and your feet.
Yeah,
right.
Exactly. And then we all take pictures in solidarity, which we cannot release.
Daniel, would you sell pictures of your feet, give them away, or none of the above?
Or make an NFT?
No.
Yeah. NFT.
No.
No NFT?
No pictures of my feet, especially not online.
All right. Your question.
Oh my God.
So I'm wondering, are you guys surprised that Chuck Schumer and the Democrats more generally are playing the game of political chicken with the debt ceiling?
I have thoughts on this, but I will go last if others do.
You go first. I have no idea what's going on, as per usual. So
I am not surprised. Do you have thoughts on this, Genevieve?
I mean, I would want, ideally, if I was in his position, to make it a bipartisan thing. And that's about the end of my thought.
So here is why I think what Schumer's doing makes sense. So the minority leader, McConnell, is trying to force Democrats to take full responsibility for the debt ceiling increase. And that is a completely unreasonable thing. But there's not a lot that Schumer can do about it, because you can't force people to vote yes on a debt ceiling increase. What you can do is do the equivalent of what Barack Obama did after the last debt ceiling crisis. And in 2011, there was a debt ceiling crisis pretty similar to this one, actually. Different in important ways, similar in other ways. And after that, Obama simply said, I am not negotiating over the debt ceiling again. And when he said that, the Republicans buckled, because they were this was in 14 or 15, I forget which, and the idea, once he said, I will not cave, I'm not negotiating over this just has to happen, he kind of called their bluff. And I think that is what Schumer is doing here. He's saying, I'm not going to change my plans at all. I'm going to move ahead, and you've got to give me 10 votes. Doesn't have to be like the whole caucus or anything, but you got to give me 10 votes so that we move this ahead. And if you don't, the train will crash. And I think actually when McConnell realizes that he's doing this and that he's not going to reorient, McConnell will fold, because he actually can't tolerate a debt ceiling crisis. And they folded last time this happened, and I think that's what Schumer's up to. So that's my guess as to what's going on.
Can I ask like kind of a dumb question? Was it a similar situation where a lot of the stuff that was included in that needed to be funded was already like authorized prior, and that's why the debt ceiling needed to be increased the last time as well?
Yes, that's always the reason the debt ceiling needs to be increased, because you've spent enough money and borrowed enough money that you are up against it. It's always based on past spending.
So how come the messaging isn't that much more in their face? Like, that's something that I had to dig to understand that. And I feel like that's, how could you write a check and then not pay for it? Like, as a, I don't know. Sorry. This is
I think it's a ton. I think just because messaging is hard when you're trying to spend $3.5 trillion on top of $1 trillion on top of $5 trillion.
Yeah.
And then the words debt ceiling come out of your mouth. People assume that you're lifting the debt ceiling in order to fund the spending that you want to do. And so McConnell is very cleverly saying, I'm not going to vote, or our people are not going to vote to help you lift the debt ceiling to fund your spending spree. And the fact that that's sort of like saying, I'm not going to mambo dog face to the banana patch. I mean, it's just gibberish.
I haven't heard that phrase in a very long time, but that was
was Steve Martin's old.
Yeah, I know. It's really, but that's really, it was like a nice throwback anyway.
It's makes about as much sense as saying that, but they can get away with it, so they say it anyway. And so you have to respond to it as a who blinks. Do you blink in the sense that you believe that, that you reorient your reconciliation package around this, in which case you really screw up your plans for the Build Back Better bill? Or do you say, I don't believe you'll do this, and I think what Schumer is doing is at least testing the waters on the idea that maybe not just McConnell, but Susan Collins, Mitt Romney, etc., won't let an actual default happen. And so while they may not vote to lift the debt ceiling, they will vote to invoke cloture to let the Democrats vote to lift the debt ceiling. That's my assumption about what's going on. All right, who's next? Corwin Schlump. I don't have an opinion about Corwin's question, but maybe some of the others of you do. Tony Kava is here. He's coming on. And Shailesh has a question for Kate. So we've got lots of people invited on. Whoever shows up first gets the next question. Shailesh, you got here first.
Hello. Hey,
Hi.
I'm sorry if you're bored of more questions about yesterday's topic, but sorry, I have to ask.
No, go ahead.
So first of all, thanks for being a voice of reason in all of this. It's really.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you. What'd you say?
Oh, thanks for being a voice of reason in this, right? But here's my question. So, what are the best proposals you have seen on how to actually measure the harm caused by social networks? And as a background, sort of the way I generally tend to think about it is content recommendation algorithms are created to maximize engagement, user engagement, and ad revenue. So why would they magically also maximize social good? Like there is nothing in the cost function that would make them do that. So
would make what? Like the companies or the content moderation?
No, I mean if you design a ML algorithm to get maximize user engagement, it's not also accidentally going to maximize social good. Those are
exactly.
Yeah. So it seems safer to assume that there is a problem and start tracking it, but then which brings back to the question, like in a public health setting or something like that, how do you actually measure harm?
No, that's like a really great question. So first of all, just like in a machine learning environment, in an AI environment, as you're saying, that is all about user engagement. And Facebook is all about user engagement, which is like how long you're on the site, how many ads you click on, when you actually spend money, when you go to an external site, what your bounce rate is from that site, like all of this stuff, right? Is all things that like has driven their value. And they do that not just like I'm sure you can appreciate this, Shailesh, so they're like, those metrics are not just, and I think this is actually super important, those metrics are not just like for shareholders. They actually, one of the reasons I think, and you'll talk to people in Silicon Valley, that they've been successful and maybe they are such kind of the maniacal antisocial company that people think, is because they tie almost every single person that works for the company to that exact metric. Like, how can you show us at your quarterly review, like exactly how you have contributed to user growth? So if your job is like, or to more user engagement. So if your job is like to take down content, which like definitely like, it's hard to show that, right? There isn't so it's not a particularly well rewarded thing. So to your point, but that's not actually even ML. That's just the human element. But I think that's important. But to the ML element, and this is what the measurement points was in the piece, is that like, I think that the design of the AI was like relatively neutral to maximize user engagement. I think that over time, users have become more sophisticated and they have not been able to, like, there are things that are net kind of positives or externalities that come out of that kind of matching, I would call it, or matching or recommendation algorithm that like you couldn't have predicted, or that like we don't know about, that are net goods, but that also have kind of bad effects. And sometimes there are trade-offs there. And so like my whole point was like, they've only been measuring for this growth element. The growth element has correlated to some good things probably, which we're not like kind of like counting when we think about all this, but we're definitely not counting the harms. So like maybe like expand what this metric looks like instead of just but like economists, engineers, like everything, are all driven by like they like things they can like count easily. So like this is one of those things. Like more users, more time is a very like easy line to draw, right?
Yeah, 100%. And I mean that's why I mean this almost seems to me like a job for CDC. I mean I don't see a distinction between measuring sort of epidemiological factors and this. Like digital well-being, and that's why it's not just about social networks. I really like that you point that out. Like it's screen time and digital well-being and sort of long-term impact on our mental health. And at that point, it really starts looking like a problem for CDC and not for regulators to shut down companies here and there. Like that's not going to do anything. But yeah, that's
totally. I just think that I forget, what was your first question? I like about the.
No, it was basically what are the proposals from academia on how to measure harm? Because we can't even, it seems like we don't even agree on what metrics quantify harm correctly.
Yeah. So I think that the thing that is causing the most discomfort and the most backlash, if we kind of look inward to ourselves and what we're really upset with about the companies, is our lack of power and control. And I think like over our environment, that like we are like, to talk to you, I like have to go onto Facebook and I have, and like, or whatever else. So there's a couple of, or like every time I log onto Facebook, I don't have the ability to block Ben, like, or dog shirts or whatever it is that like is so offensive to me.
Why would you want to block dog shirts?
I'm just kidding. If I was Virginia Heffernan, that would be something that I would be very upset about. But my only point is like those, so the last part about dog shirts, that's something you can kind of create with a middleware API type of solution that's kind of on the top. The other part is like a data portability or interoperability thing, an ability to basically just kind of like we did with AOL Time Warner merger when we said, let's break off AOL Instant Messenger. And they said this yesterday, but like that you have the ability to take the piece that you like and take it somewhere else and use it amongst other types of things and group it how you want. Of course, that is, some of that is going to have to happen in regulation antitrust. Some of that is going to happen in good old fashioned regulation. The other thing is just plain old transparency. Like I think that we really need transparency around what the rules are. So like we can make informed choices about where we take our data when we have the ability to do it. Like, why do we want to put it at Facebook or why do we want to put it at something else? Like, if you don't know the rule sets of different places, if you don't have visibility into that, then you can't make good choices. And then like the last thing is kind of, and this is something Evelyn Douek says, I think she's writing a paper about this right now, but it's kind of about like, it's to your CDC point that like, there needs to be a new agency. There's the FCC to like run all of the telecommunications. This is a much bigger problem than I think than a Ma Bell type of like scenario. And so I think that there needs to be kind of a new agency to do some of this work and to be like making calls about public health and also about monopoly power in these types of rules. So yeah, but great questions.
Thank you so much.
Great to see you.
All right. There is a very important series of poll questions up, and you should all answer them. Lisa, which is to say at Pet Noodle, and I are really curious about whether the foot issue is ultimately a gendered effect or not. And I think everybody should give honest answers here to see whether this is basically a men are happy to sell their feet and women are not effect, or whether it's a more complicated.
This is like asking like cat calls. It feels like, why aren't you just happy to get a compliment? Like the men, I feel like, right? Okay, right, Genevieve?
No, I don't feel that way at all. But if somebody wants a picture of my feet, it's not no skin off my back.
I also am very curious to know if the majority of consumers of those photos are men or women, or how they identify.
Do you feel differently about it if you knew that the consumers are all creepy men? Than if it were a diverse array of normal people.
Yeah, I was going to say, leading the witness, totally. Like,
I just feel like you can't identify me based on my feet. Tony Cava, we have a very strange angle on you today. The floor
Tony.
is yours.
Hey,
Hi.
He is back. He's not in his house.
I am not in my house, unfortunately, and I've missed you guys desperately.
Are you wearing sandals, Tony?
I turned in. Hang on.
Oh, see, his feet are covered.
See, now all over the world, creepy men are like, "Oh, this was our moment."
People with Nike fetishes or Nike fetishes. You know, I've missed this show so much, and I turn it on, and y'all are talking about foot fetishes.
Well, it was just for you, Tony.
We can't help the debauchery of Paula and Mateo. That's
good God, and I can tell you that is like, what's the right word for it? It's kind of like the meme of creepy guy is the guy who wants to take a picture of your feet. It's like the most disgusting thing. I think if you ask women about their bad experiences in cabs, having the cabbie ask you if they could take a picture of their feet would probably be right up there.
But I once had a cabbie ask me if he could take me to Whole Foods to buy me kefir. What? No, I really did.
I remember this story.
So you could try kefir?
How do you remember this story?
You told it on the show.
Oh, did I? Oh, okay. Yeah.
So what's worse, after a picture of a woman's feet or drinking kefir? Which of those two is the worst? I don't know.
You're like revealing a lot about your preferences here, Tony.
All right, what's on your mind, Mr. Kava?
Yeah. Well, I don't know if you guys already did it, but I was wondering if I could plug myself, if that would be okay, if that would be acceptable.
It would.
If I plugged myself.
I DM'd you about this, but it was just before the show. So, but it's better coming from you.
Oh,
so,
okay. Well, great.
Off you go.
Well, thank you very much. Well, I don't know if you remember a few months before Rational Security closed shops, Shane had as his what do you call that? As his object lesson, the story of a woman named Letta Powell Drake, who was a reporter and journalist and TV producer and actress out of Lincoln, Nebraska. And she had gone viral on Twitter because these videos of her were discovered. And there are these incredible videos, and Shane worships her and said he wanted her to be his guru. Anywho, she just passed away, and when she passed away, Shane had posted a little kind of obit to her, a little memorial to her on Twitter. And this fellow who does a podcast called Why Isn't This a Movie joined in, and I just jokingly said, yeah, why isn't this a movie? And then it turned out that the guy, Mike Vago, said, hey, you come on the show and tell us how this could be a movie. So I was like, okay, I guess I'll do that. So I spent a week researching Letta Powell Drake, and she's an amazing woman. And we spent last night recording the podcast. And so that is going to drop on Tuesday. And I think it sounded on my end like it came off really well. I don't know what it'll be like after editing, but it was an interesting experience. And she was a super interesting woman. And I just would ask you all to give it a listen if you have a chance.
We certainly will.
Yeah. Please send us a link is that the link?
Is this the right? I think this might be the right one, but I'm not sure.
Show. Oh, it's called, it's Mike Vago, and it's called Why Isn't This a Movie, I think it's called.
Cool. Awesome.
It's the podcast.
That's what I always ask about Cheese Night.
Well, he's looking for ideas. Obviously, if he's having me on the show, he must be desperate for ideas, and you should DM him.
Don't downplay your charming self, Tony Kava. Also, I love your sketches of Momo.
Yes.
They're so great.
Thank you very much. That is very encouraging. I will post more for you.
You know what would be
all the time? Yeah.
Okay, Joel.
A great movie is all the Where's the Lie stories. Those could all be movies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We got to get more liars
or like animation.
On Where's the Lie. people who are just like somebody who like I think Jonathan Rauch really started it out right with like a story that had basically no element of truth to it.
I was totally fooled.
Yeah, I was completely fooled by it. Joel the Nudge, the floor is yours.
Hi, friend.
Was there anything in particular that you wanted me to speak to? I tend to post so much misspelled nonsense in the sidebar that,
you know,
on the rare occasion I'm on, I'm actually not sure what I'm here for.
Well, you left something in the Q&A, which I just interpreted to be an indication that you wanted to be on screen. It had to do with a podcast, but you don't have to talk about that. And when you post something in the Q&A, I interpret that as an invitation to be invited on screen.
Which is cool by me.
So, like, here you are. What you do with your time on screen, you know, that's really up to you.
Would it be okay if we had just a moment or two to talk about Awkward Family Shit Show?
All right, let's do it.
This is a podcast idea my business partner and I came up with at lunch, so you can, you know, tell how serious we were. Called Awkward Family Shit Show, because we had just come out of the holidays and everybody has a Thanksgiving story where, you know, Uncle Dave shows up and by the time he gets there, he's half in the bag. And then before the pumpkin pie shows up, he starts to talk about how he and Aunt Trudy really never consummated the marriage they wanted to. And, you know, and then, oh my God, everybody's just like, oh.
You have much more family interestingness than I do.
Yeah. So, you know, everybody's had the Awkward Family Shit Show at least once. So the podcast would be, we would just invite, kind of like you guys, invite people on. Okay, what do you got for us? Tell us about your horrific family interaction.
So do you mean that you would actually just invite people on to talk about the Awkward Family Shit Show?
Yeah.
You wouldn't invite the whole family on to have an Awkward Family Shit Show.
Thank you. I was also confused about that. I was like, that doesn't seem like something you can manufacture. It has to like come organically, like in the moment.
No, because there isn't a person on earth that does not have at least one of these in their back pocket.
I don't think I have one.
Were you awake
I don't really think
most
I do.
of the dinners?
I mean, I have to be honest. Like, I had one particularly bad uncle, but like, just generally speaking, my family is kind of smallish and boring.
So here's the thing about my family. My family is large and interesting and is more than capable of producing an Awkward Family Shit Show, but we also don't keep in touch except when we feel close to one another. And so, like, those of us who were actually in touch with one another really enjoy each other's company. And when I see my family, it's like really nice. And I can think of discrete, unpleasant interactions, but I'm not sure I can identify like a time when we got the whole family together and it was a fucking disaster.
And it just comes to a screeching halt and everybody's like, oh God, Uncle Dave, every time.
No, I mean,
see, like for me,
I mean, you guys have met my Uncle John. I mean, he's an eccentric guy, but it's really fun hanging out with him.
Yeah, see, this is like not something I get. Like, people are not like, people dislike each other. like so there's not, it's like people are like really angry when it's not like funny that someone's doing this. It's like deeply annoying and grating type of thing. Like, is that
what do you suppose the time lag is before it gets funny? How many Thanksgivings before, you know, the old story gets funny again?
I mean, like, I just...
That's wound specific.
Yeah, I agree.
I don't know how bad it went, I suppose.
So Joel, I mean, you set yourself up for this.
Yeah, I sure did, didn't I?
What was, if you were on the show, Awkward Family Shit Shows, what story would you tell?
There's a couple of them. One of them had to do with, we went to somebody's house, a family relative, and throughout the meal, one of the kids was going upstairs and turning the thermostat up and the temperature was getting hotter and hotter and hotter and hotter in the room. Everybody's just sitting around sweating, and nobody wants to say anything because we're all such reserved Midwesterners that no one would speak up on the matter. And the walls are melting, and then finally somebody, has to. But that was a really long kind of appetizer course, I can tell you.
That's like a great prank, though. It really is.
That is a really.
That would be one example. Another one. Did have a dinner with another family friend that descended into a political nightmare, then ends with the host standing up and doing a little something about, you don't understand, we don't have a democracy anymore. Mic drop, left.
Oh dear.
That one was also like, everybody's like, wow, that was great. That was the best one of those I've ever seen.
So what about you, GDF? If you had had to appear as a guest on Awkward Family Shit Shows,
would you have 8 siblings. How would you
story to
fit them all
tell
in the frame?
Oh, come on, there's gold in there.
There's so many good stories, but that's the problem. Is like, how do you pick? And it's more pranks and like hilarity in my immediate family than anything else. Actually, one of my brothers did do something similar to the thermostat prank to one of my other brothers and his girlfriend, because they were staying in the bedroom that he had wanted to stay in. And so he like kept going in there and cranking the thermostat up over the night. And they woke up the next morning, they were drenched, and they're like, what is happening? The air conditioning's broken. He had turned on the heat. He had made it impossible.
Okay, so we have a winner in the chat here. Devin Nunez's lawyer says, one of the grandchildren unplugged my dad's oxygen, and no one realized it for a couple of hours. Hilarity ensued. Okay, that's we gotta say, that's good. I will note that on the poll, a very solid majority is answering no to, would you have a story to tell on Awkward Family Shit Shows? So it sounds
I'm surprised.
So it sounds like it's like a show that everyone would want to watch, but that relatively few good guests would be. Well, thank you. I think this should be made. I think you should produce it.
I'd tune in.
And I would have no great story to tell on it. Christopher Argyris.
Hey,
it's late in London.
Yes. Speaking of Awkward Family Shit Shows, don't we already have that in the form of congressional hearings?
Yes.
That's my homage. Since we don't have Shane Harris on Rational Security, that's my homage to him for the awkward transition or the non-awkward.
How do you like the new Rational Security, by the way?
It's different. I mean, of course, I miss the OG crew, and I hope that you guys, do make your occasional appearances on the show. I mean, I think it's gonna take a while for the new crew to kind of develop a rapport, and that's just more my honest feedback. Yeah.
All right.
So on the subject of congressional hearings, could we just give Blumenthal a little bit benefit of the doubt and presume that he might have been asking more for social media companies to end anonymous accounts and to require, like Facebook requires, real name, and on the balance of harms?
Okay, he was not, but I mean, maybe. Maybe, but that's not like, that's not like, he didn't use the term correctly.
Okay.
At all.
Yeah. Okay.
And it was clear that she was trying to talk about accounts, and he was not parsing that a Finsto is like not a product that Facebook makes, and that it's like, in fact, a like type of account that people create. So but I mean, like, I'm sure he also wants that thing.
Yeah.
So fine.
But I mean, could you discuss sort of like on the balance of harms, like requiring Twitter and other places that don't already require people to use their real name or authentication, how that would impact online abuse and trolling?
Yeah. So Antigone said this a little bit like in the conversation, which was just that like which was like that she was starting to respond to, which is like getting to the justification that teenagers have for creating Finstas, which is basically that they want to have different layers of privacy. So they create different accounts in order to like de-link or be able to, it's like, it's a little bit like how like I don't like friending people on Facebook that I work with at various points in like my jobs, and I just have things with them on LinkedIn. Well, like, for teenagers that don't go on, that want to make the same types of distinctions, they create different levels of accounts.
Yeah.
And so she was talking about basically trying to build in privacy mechanisms to Instagram itself that would allow that type of like intermediate tooling. So basically that like people like a little bit like how Facebook has tried to do this with the only other thing is I will just say that there has been real name policy has been like is incredibly hard to enforce. It has led to a lot of problems when people have had accidental bans from Facebook or things like that because they're required a lot of times to like they're required to show like their ID. Like and have their ID like they, to re-verify your account or get back into your account, you have to show your ID. So like there's a lot of people who want to have fake Instagram accounts, and like there's a lot of data that shows that.
What about Twitter?
Twitter just doesn't.
Yeah.
I don't think that they are. I just don't think that they police in the same way. Like, and because they've given individuals so much more tools for blocking. And because it's not a walled garden the way like Instagram and Facebook is, and I say that in the sense of like some Instagram is very public, but like no Facebook pages are public, like right, like most people have like private Facebook pages that are like private to the people that they specifically friend, and then have to like make distinctions within that. Twitter is like most people don't have like use Twitter in a locked capacity. Most of them use it as like a very public capacity. So like you're not making that type of fine grains. The whole idea is that you basically say if you're going to be saying something on Twitter, you say it to everyone who follows you or talk to. And so it's just a different level of expectation. Would you agree with that, Ben? I don't know.
Oh, you're muted.
I do. I think on Twitter, nobody expects to be speaking to a small community. You just don't have control over what you say. Whereas in Facebook, you really can create discrete communities that are not private, but relatively contained.
Yeah, I think that's right. Also, I really so Cash Hill has written about this a lot, or first wrote about it, which is like the friends you may know. And I find this to be one of the, or like people you may know function that Facebook and LinkedIn and like Instagram, which has gotten slowly better.
Which is how I keep getting there are all these people who tried to overturn the election who Facebook keeps saying, you may also know, Rudy Giuliani, or maybe you should be friends with Sidney Powell.
I mean, I just think that I find one of the examples Cash uses in that piece is basically someone being recommended their friend's therapist, and because they had a person in common, and they were so and so is also because they were both in the friend was in both of their contacts, so they got recommended to each other. And I mean, I think that kind of and this happens to me with sources and with I think my friends have had it happen with new girlfriends of their ex-boyfriend, all kinds of stuff. So I just think it's it's an unpleasant feature.
It's excellent. I think we should all be connected on Facebook with our friends' therapists. Richard Wattenbarger, the floor is yours.
They're probably telling you this what's going on, but let me tell you how fucked up they really are.
Yeah, exactly. It says, you may also want a session with.
We just scratched the surface today.
Yeah. Richard,
so
the floor is yours.
Let me tell you how they feel about feet. Sorry.
I feel strongly about feet. I'm a proud overpronator, so which is a nice, that people used to say flat feet, but I guess or fallen arches, but I guess you can't say that anymore. So, so do any of you actually have cheese tonight, or is this like you do have cheese? Oh,
I have cheese.
I held up my Gouda and I made it.
I have Vermont cheddar.
Okay, I was worried that we were watching the opening skirmishes of the war on Cheese Night, and
no,
take the cheese out of Cheese Night. That would be awful. So I'm wondering if any of you have, at this point in the pandemic, if you have gone to a movie or a concert or the opera or anything in an enclosed space like that. And
we asked you this question a couple weeks ago, I think. I said we asked you this question a couple weeks ago.
Yes, you did.
I have not.
It's back at you.
I have not either. Have you, Jay?
Aladdin just
GDF?
Down.
I went to the candlelight music, but that was like socially distanced, and it was technically indoors, but they had all the doors open. Excuse me.
Is that your stomach?
So in my case, I can tell you pretty precisely what I'm waiting for, which is I'm waiting for the number of cases per 100,000 in the jurisdiction of the venue to be below 10. Right now in the District of Columbia, we have about 24 new cases per 100,000 people, which is to say not high enough to seriously restrict your behavior, but enough that like going into a large venue with a large number of people still seems silly. And I think once you get those numbers below a certain level, and I don't know why for me the number is 10, but 10 just feels like very few. And feel like I'm willing to risk that. So I think we're like 2.5 times the prevalence level that I would be comfortable with.
What about you, Richard?
I'm still nervous about it, but so the dilemma I have right now is I want to go to see the Met in HD a week from tomorrow, and I'm just not. I just don't know if I feel safe to go into a movie theater.
So what are they showing?
Boris Godunov.
Oh, so can I suggest that if you subscribe to the Met streaming service, I believe they do, all of those live on it.
Oh, do they on the streaming service?
I think so. I've never watched one on it because I like to do it on big screens. But I think you can watch them all, or at the minimum, once it's run, you can watch it not live on that.
Yeah. Well, a lot of them, may end up issuing on Blu-ray eventually anyway. So,
right,
which is another way to hear. But
I wouldn't do it yet.
Yeah.
All right. The estimable
Ducks
with Pants is here.
Hi,
and
nice
he
haircut,
has
EG.
He has a song he wants to perform.
Oh.
Well, yes, since we're doing plugs, I missed my opportunity earlier in this week when we were discussing fisheries to plug this particular song. So I
Fish
figured
with Pants?
No, this is a song that covers a wide variety of topics, ecology, theology, and ichthyology, but alas, not pants on the fish. It's also a song of some personal significance, as this will be the first E.G. Phillips song on vinyl, or at least the first E.G. Phillips song for which I have signed away the rights such that it can be on vinyl. We'll see if this comes to fruition. But fellow singer-songwriter in the San Francisco area, Ken Newman, has covered this song, and he's working on pressing vinyl as we speak. So in that context, I have this song, which is called The Fish Song. Try to cramp latitudes in a man, just jam him in, he's a tuna can. Like there are many fish in the sea, and God has touched each grain of sand. Well, it sounds to me like someone has too much time on his hands, and I don't want to have to spend all my life as a fisherman. If I catch a fish, should I draw her from her water, watch her flop about my deck before I cut and gut her, or cook her up in olive oil and serve her for supper? And once I have consumed her, I should have to catch another. And soon the sea shall be empty for rum, and we'll go fishing till appetites are satisfied. And that's just wishful thinking. They're polluting all our rivers with their lines and constant angling. They're casting it around the world as it's choking us entangling. If you feed a man a fish, you'll fill his belly for a night. But if you teach a man to fish, he's famished but he's occupied. Me, I'm so sick of baiting hooks with fancy lures and worms and flies. I'd rather sail on in the fly and hope that fish fall from the sky. Perhaps I ought to dry my skin till the flakes and scales, shed my forelegs for some fins, and spin myself at the tail. I'll till myself till I develop gills or the blowhole of a whale. And then I can make some plans with all those fish in the sea, if they'll have me.
Yay!
Excellent.
So that's
that was great. Great lyrics.
Yes.
Yeah. So you blinked off in there, but your voice stayed on in the Crowdcast bandwidth preserving thing. So the awesome thing about that is that it actually looked like a duck with pants was performing that song, because there was a duck with pants and a guitar singing about fish.
There we go. Well, you can find that on my first album, Fish from the Sky, and as well as an alternate version, a country version from Nashville Recordings Volume 1, first EP.
Excellent. We should revive the tradition, the ancient tradition of ending Cheese Night with a song.
Yeah, that was fun. That was great.
I think that was good.
Thank you, Doc.
Thank you, with Mr. With Pants, which is, I think, how I'm going to refer to you in the future. Unless With is a middle name.
John.
I think it's more like the Della in Della Fera.
It's part of the whole.
It's, yeah, even though there's a space. It's not ducks with pants. It's, I don't know.
Ducks with pants.
With pants, yeah. I think that's exactly right. We are going to leave it there. Kate Klonick, Genevieve Della Fera, Luke, you're all great Americans. Some louder than others. We will be back on Monday. There will be a guest. No idea who it's going to be.
Noah Rosenblum.
It's going to be Noah Rosenblum, who's a great American. And it'll be a bunch of hours and 1 minute from now. And until then, Luke.
We don't have fun anymore, but we have the right to take photos of our feet.
I bet he's getting really good at this stage of putting them in his mouth.
Yes, he's getting yes.
That was one of the great conversations we've ever had on this show.
It was so good. So thank you, Paula and Mateo.
And I didn't know this was a thing. I'm totally tweeting a picture of my feet.
Oh my God.
Do not do that. Do not do just don't do that.
It's going to be the Good Morning image tomorrow.
Ben's going to make an NFT. It's going to happen.
Bye, guys.
At least do it on an airplane so you can troll Tom Nichols.
Oh,
I think I can troll Tom Nichols with it just by doing it. I once showed up at a green room for MSNBC.
I know.
In flip-flops because I knew Tom Nichols was going to be there.
I know you told me this.
Really?
Yeah. It made us both happy in different ways. See you later.
Happy Friday, everybody.